Hello, Canada, and welcome to Good Night, Qatar. What a day that it has been. An emotional roller coaster, no doubt about it, from Canada playing oh so well in the first half. Probably should have been up by a couple of goals by the end of that first 45, but Batshuayi in the 44th minute breaking Canadian hearts despite a valiant second half attempt to find some points in this match. This is, of course, the place we're going to recap the entire game. Lots to talk about. Another busy day in Qatar. We have Kristian Jack joining us live from the ground. Oliver Platt, Gareth Wheeler, and Jordan Wilson as well. KJ, let's get right into it. Seeing Canada in the World Cup for the first time in 36 years, just what was that entire atmosphere like for you tonight?
Yeah, it's a moment for reflection, I suppose, and talk about the 36 years. My feeling right now, as we're just taping this after the whistle, is of one of great opportunity that they let slip, right? And that's the one that, for me, I can't get my head around in terms of how close they were to doing what they needed to do. I thought they were terrific for the most part of the match. We can get into the weeds if you want, and they lost the momentum with some changes in the second half. But yeah, the atmosphere was fantastic. Canada had way more fans here and sung a lot louder than Belgium. They've come a long way, and they were terrific, and they got behind their team. And you know, the biggest takeaway for me was that they saw the same team that we've all seen in the qualifying, and that was the big question mark. Would the big stage, would the big opponent, would that big moment, the big lights change Canada? And it didn't change Canada. They stuck to their game plan, and on another day they would have won that game comfortably, but in the end they go home because they weren't able to put their chances away. And Belgium, that's why they are who they are. They put theirs away. But all in all, the press was on. They stopped them from playing. They were the exact good version of themselves and their identity for a long period of time. And in the end, they didn't get it done, Gareth, but I thought they were very, very good.
Well, we're going to spend some time and dissect all of this every which way, but this is a dream come true, what we experienced today. This is something that year after year, the World Cups are played, and you're kind of visioning what Canada would look like on this world stage. I couldn't really picture it, to be honest with you. I had no idea what it was going to look like. I had no idea what it was going to feel like. And I come away just with an immense sense of pride. Canada may have not won the game today, but they played like champions. Like, that was a winning performance they put together, start to finish. Of course, we'll go through some of the areas, some of the reasons why they did not win this game, but the way they carried themselves, the way they took the play to Belgium, the way that they were the better side of that game, they deserve so much more. But important for the game in this country, there's a lot of casuals turning in, not just people that would subscribe to One Soccer. You come away from that performance today saying, wow, this Canada team can play. They push the FIFA second-ranked team in the world to the absolute limits, and they should have come away with something. I am just so proud at that performance today, from the coaching staff down to each and every one of the players. It was everything and more than I could imagine, except they just don't come away with the full 3 points.
KJ, we've spent months since the draw trying to prepare for what we thought John Herdman would do, what Canada would look like. Would they play up to Belgium? Would they play hesitant? Would they bunker down? All this time guessing, but we just saw 90 minutes of it. Were there any surprises from you out of the Canadian performance?
Well, the performance obviously was a result of the tactics and the press. The biggest surprise was Alphonso Davies playing left wing back. We haven't seen that from the start since 2019. It's an enormous shock when the lineups were gone out. People, reverberated around here in the media tribune and what's going on. Many people suspected potentially Larea, but I just saw too many attacking players on the pitch. Hoylett, Davies, David, and Buchanan had not started a game in qualifying. They did, so I felt that one of them might have to sit deeper. But they was there for a reason. What I loved about it was that every player was in a position that was natural to them. Larea played his natural position. Davies plays his natural position for his club. Buchanan played his favorite position. They're all interchangeable. They're all very much in that. I thought Larea was marvelous, by the way. I thought he was absolutely brilliant on the game in the day. So to answer your question, what surprised me, I think it was just the way that they pressed and how brave they were, and they never stopped. Even when De Bruyne broke the press twice in the first half, they didn't take a step back. And we can all dissect the goal. We can all say they played the high line, and okay, there was a direct ball over the top. But if you're going to play with that press, you have to play with that line. You have to play that high line up. Yeah. Maybe question marks about someone, potentially it might be harsh, Milan Bojan. Maybe he should be higher. I think Olive Neuer's in net for Canada in that system. He's on the edge of his penalty area, and I don't think that Batshuayi is getting the ball. That might be a bit harsh. But all in all, I think the way that they went and they pressed, that was the biggest shot for me. And they were brave and bold, and it paid off the way that they played.
Yeah, and that's an important point, I think, is that you can't separate the way Canada conceded the goal from the way they played the rest of the game. The two are intertwined, right? And that's what football is, it's a game of risk reward, and wherever there's a strength, there's a weakness somewhere else, and you can't separate the two. And a big, the goal in the end comes from Canada getting caught behind their defensive line from a long ball. Johnston gets dragged into midfield a bit by Eden Hazard, and there's a gap that opens up there. But the reason those things were happening at the back was because of the way Canada decided to play, which was to press high, 5v5, with the Belgian back five, man for man, press them all over the pitch. And overall, that was clearly, a massive success for Canada on the night in terms of the way they were able to perform. So there's always going to be kind of consequences to that and risks with that. And unfortunately, we saw that on the Belgian goal. But overall, you can't second guess that game plan from John Herdman, even though those weaknesses were there. Overall, it was an overwhelming success and produced, for me, that's the best performance by a Canadian men's national team in the history of the program. Like that was absolutely outstanding. And on another day, they get a result against, one of the top teams at this World Cup.
100%, and that's not hyperbolic whatsoever. And one of the reasons why the performance was so good is there were so many individuals that stood up and rose to the occasion. KJ, you obviously gave some well-deserved praise to Richie Laryea, but who were some of the other players for you? Maybe man of the match, if you're going to give it to Laryea, maybe some honorable mentions.
Well, the great thing about it was in the first half alone, I watched every player have at least one moment. They had at least one moment. It wasn't. By the way, the penalty that was awarded came from Eustáquio and Laryea bullying Carrasco. They bullied him off the ball, and then they played the cross. So I thought that was very important. The way that they obviously the intensity that they came in. I thought Tajon Buchanan played 3 different positions and only came off because he got injured right below me here. That was a bit of a drop off when he had to come off. They really missed him. I thought Buchanan was terrific, but every one of them, Eustáquio's nutmegging Kevin De Bruyne in a World Cup. Like everybody had an individual piece of more. Kamal Miller, slide tackles. Johnston, for the most part, was terrific against Eden Hazard. We can go on and on and on. Atiba was great. David had some great moments. So, Jordan, it was really, again, which is what this Canada's about, a collective rather than just moments of individual quality.
My heart was full, KJ. Full. Tears to my eyes. Honestly, I'm not a crier, but looking at this team unified. Most teams are going to go and play Belgium, sit back, very, very safe, went at them for 90-plus minutes, had no fear, said we're going to press. Goal kicks, I saw Eustáquio saying, guys, let's go forward, let's press them. Junior Horn is pressing defenders right by the touchline off of goal kicks. They were brave. They played with their heart. Like for me, I'm honestly tearing up when I was watching this game because that's how much it meant to them. And that's how much it means for Canada going forward. If you were not behind this team before, get behind them now. They showed today how much it means for them to be at this stage. They did not take it for granted. They stuck together. And just a few little details are reasons why we didn't get 3 points today. But hats off to the boys and hats off to John Herdman for getting them on the same page. And it's one thing for a coach to lay out how he wants his team to play. It's another thing for them to trust him, trust in each other, and for them to follow it through the whole match. And that's what they did today. So for that, they have they have all the credit. They deserve all of it.
Very well said. And that you can tell that there was the professional athlete in Jordan, the footballer, that was just chomping at the bit like he was going out there through that tunnel as well. It was so cool to experience that with him. KJ, I'm sure it was a brilliant experience for you, mate. Thank you as always for joining us live from the grounds. I know you got some writing to do, some stand-up soon, a whole lot more. We appreciate your work and we'll talk to you real soon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I'm going to go talk to the players and get some more reaction for you. I'll be back soon. Cheers, everybody.
Kristian Jack, always working and always giving us more content at One Soccer, where you'll find a lot of that post-match debrief. We do have to go to a quick commercial break, but have no fear. The Canada chat is not going anywhere. Brilliant performance for Les Rouges today, putting up an incredible battle and winning over the hearts and minds of an entire country. More next on Good Night Qatar. Welcome back to Goodnight Qatar. Only one story to talk about to start this show. Lots to discuss about the Canadians, who do fall by 1-0 to Belgium. That 44th minute goal by Batshuayi, breaking some hearts, but also bringing a country together. And I think there was a really good point made in the first block of our show where the average fan is captivated. This country loves teams. They love athletes that wear their heart on their sleeve and battle. That is precisely what Canada did. But we have to dissect this a little bit deeper. There were so many moments in this match. What could have been, things that stood out, things we would like to see tightened up for Croatia the next match. Garrett, but we have to talk about the biggest one. That is, of course, the penalty. Alphonso Davies takes it. From your vantage point, from everyone you were watching it with, walk us through what you saw and if you think maybe Alphonso Davies was or was not the correct.
First off, I can't tell you how much it bothers me that Michy Batshuayi scored the goal, because if you look up in the dictionary, bang average footballer, it's Michy Batshuayi. Like that is him. It was a great goal, great finish, but that just had to get that off my chest, man. That really bothers me because you thought no Lukaku, Batshuayi. Dog's breakfast. He did okay.
Silly little celebration as well.
I know. After they absolutely got battered by Canada for 43 minutes before that. The penalty, it was well earned. It was the right decision to give Canada the penalty. The referee took his sweet time setting things up and allowing to play. We all know in penalties, Jordan, you can speak to this as well. When you step up and take one, you just want to do it right away. The longer you wait, the more's in your head. It's a big moment for Alphonso Davies. He has taken 2 penalties over the course of his Canada career, one against Cayman Islands, one against Curacao. It doesn't compare to, stepping up and scoring against Belgium at the World Cup. You just wonder, John Herman made it clear that he lets his players make the decision on who takes the penalty. I was a little bit surprised it wasn't Jonathan David. Full credit to Courtois, made a good save. Wasn't a great hit by Alphonso Davies. I'm not going to put that on him. Robert Lewandowski, one of the best, if not the best finisher in the world today, missed one against Mexico. This isn't an Alphonso Davies thing. This is a football thing. This happens. The decision-making will be second-guessed on who should have taken the penalty. I trust Alphonso Davies every day of the week, to be honest with you. He's the face of Canadian football. He's the face of Canadian sport. It was his moment. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out.
Yeah, look, I think it's one where if I was choosing who was going to take that penalty, I would probably have a few players in front of Davies, if we're being totally honest. Jonathan David, Junior Hoylett, Stefan Eustachio. Steven Vittori is a penalty taker. He scored 11 goals in a season once, taking mostly penalties. Like there's options there that are probably more natural penalty takers than Davies. I'm also not going to criticize him for it for a second, because how many times do we hear about when a team misses a penalty and it's someone else other than the superstar on the team? Well, why didn't he step up? Why didn't he take responsibility in that moment, lead his team in the right way? And even more so when you're talking about potentially Canada's first ever goal at a World Cup, like Davies tried to take responsibility in that moment. He tried to lead the team as we all expect him to. He missed the penalty. It happens. It's one where, yes, like I said, you can second guess that decision afterwards, but it's really difficult when you're in that moment and in that game. I think to put yourself in his shoes and imagine what that's like as a footballer in this kind of stage.
Such a big occasion to be the first player to score for Canada. The stage was set for him. But 2 things stick out to me. The 65 seconds it took for him to actually take the penalty from when the penalty was called, like the VAR going to check and coming out. Obviously, hindsight is 20/20, but when you look at it, I wish he didn't put the ball down. I wish he kept it. He held it. Maybe someone else took it from him, kind of just like took the moment away from him, And so when he put the ball down and he was about to shoot against Courtois, it was maybe only 10 seconds. These little things. But for me, people will talk, oh, he shouldn't have taken it, or someone else should have taken it. The person who steps up and wants it, if the manager hasn't said anything different, takes the penalty. Wheel said he's the face of Canada. We all agree. If he feels confident to take the penalty, take it. Everyone has missed. Best players in the world have missed. The only thing I wish he did was hold the ball a bit longer, or one of his teammates hold it. And then when you have that opportunity, you smack it. Because if you're in doubt, anything could happen. It could hit the keeper's hand and go in top corner. Smack it. For him, if he could do it over, I know Alphonso Davies, which he just hit it with more gusto, pick the corner and hit it harder, and then anything could have happened in that.
The referee just bothered me. Is a checkered pass. Just look him up into this game. That nightmare of the African Cup of Nations, blowing the whistle twice before the 85th minute.
The 85th minute, yeah.
It was insane. He did okay today, but Jordan, as a player, who cares about the players lining up outside the 18? I just want to go hit the ball. There was so much wasted time there for Davies, such a young player, to think about this. He's never taken a penalty for his club. I just thought that the context and the way it all started to play out, I was like, uh-oh, here we go. And then Courtois, top goalkeeper as well. So, man, Canada did not lose in World Cup qualifying after scoring the first goal. If they got that goal, I don't think they lose that game.
Want to
jump back two more penalties, by the way.
Yeah, well, we're definitely going to get to that, Ollie, and that's something I want to speak of. But we talk about the penalty that Canada didn't score. We should talk a little bit more about the goal that Belgium did score. KJ mentioned it a little bit, just speaking of, and Ollie, that's why I want to come back to you, is your analysis of it was just the fact that that is the risk you run playing the system that Canada chose to play in. Do you think that was a product that was one of those things where John Herdman says, we have to eliminate as many mistakes as possible, but there are going to be opportunities. We just have to react and be a bit better in those critical moments?
Yeah, you can't play a team like Belgium and expect to have a chance of winning the game and not have any risk, not have any difficult moments. Like it's going to happen. It's about managing them and limiting them. And I thought they did that. And their press overall was extremely effective in limiting Belgium from getting any kind of rhythm in the game. But there was a clear issue in the first half. And again, I think it was an issue that was worthwhile for all the benefits that it produced. And it was, you had the front three pressing the back three, you had the wing backs against the wing backs, and then when Witsel dropped deep, one of the midfielders followed him, right? So that left you with one midfielder in front of the back three. And there was a second Belgian midfielder who was there, so that's already one player. And then De Bruyne was dropping into that space as well, and Hazard was dropping into that space. And so all of a sudden you've got a 3-on-1. And so the defenders have to step and make a decision as to whether they follow those players. And in that instance, Johnston did. Hazard came into that space. Johnston went with him. And it opened up a big gap between Vitoria and Lorea, and that was where the ball went through. So it's just a part of it. But again, if you're looking at the game as a whole, the decision to take those risks and to press that high works beautifully for Canada. I thought the game plan was a masterpiece from John Herdman, to be honest with you.
The game plan was a masterpiece. I have to agree with you, Ali, and definitely talking to John Herdman. The way he set up and had his team playing. Beautiful. But to break down the goal, defensive part of me is saying when there's no pressure on the ball, you cannot be square. Like Vitoria's square like this, you have to be side on, ready to run, right? It's so hard to turn as a defender when you have to turn like this and chase someone, right? But if you're side on, you can easily
especially
run.
When you don't have a wheelie chair.
Yeah, right. I'm just spinning around. I'm kind of dizzy, to be honest. But no, you're looking at it, the first thing I yelled is be side on, right? So you can put an arm out. You could screen a runner. You could do something. If you look at the play, there's no pressure on the ball, and he's looking at the ball watching. Now, I will say it's a cardinal sin. I've done it. Every defender has done it, where you're just ball watching for a moment, and you forget about your man that could potentially run into the space that was exploited. It sucks because you're looking at this moment. That's the only moment where it's like, ooh, we fell asleep for a split second. But that is also the difference in levels, right? You go against some of the best teams in the world. That's all that it takes is one chance, and there's one goal, and they punished you.
That was the only way that they were going to score. You mentioned it, like we said this in the build-up to this game, pressure on the ball. It came from the deepest line player, I believe, in Belgium. Like, time and space wasn't given in the middle of the park. I mean, Canada outplayed Belgium in the midfield. It was just a long ball played at the back. Of course, the attacker, I think it was Jonathan David, not going to press super high and limit a long ball being played over the top. That's inevitably what costed them. It's just crazy to me. We also said in the build-up, the one thing that scares me, just Vitoria being pulled out a little bit. Look, it wasn't his fault. They were playing a high line, but then the other team then playing the ball over the top, and guess how they scored their goal? Great finish by my boy Batshuayi, but still the way that it played out, I just thought like that was the only way that Belgium were going to score on the day, and they capitalized. That isn't why Canada lost the game, conceding that goal. When you have as many chances as Canada, 22 shots, and you just put 3 on target, that's why they lost the game. It reminded me a lot, guys, of the Uruguay game. They looked good against Uruguay. They took it to them. Decision-making the attacking third. It was off it, wasn't good enough. Putting balls on target, set pieces were nowhere near good enough tonight as well. These are the fine margins between coming away with a draw or coming away with a loss. And tonight, those details are the things that let them down. Not the effort, not the intensity, not the mentality, not all these things. Like, John got it right, the team got it right. They were admirable. There's a lot of pride. They were absolutely fantastic. But the details are the only things that let them down.
And we said this after the Uruguay game, right? Is it's one thing to turn in a winning performance and compete against a team like this, and it's another thing to win against a team like this. And sometimes that takes a bit of time to join the two together. And Canada just haven't had that time, right? Like, they had 2 games against, proper World Cup opponents coming into this tournament. It will come if they keep playing like this, but sometimes it doesn't come straight away. And yeah, the lack of a clinical edge obviously really cost them tonight.
I know how much we love segments and games on this show, so I'm going to do a minuscule version of this. One question, everyone's going to answer it. Jordan's going to go first. Either Belgium is overrated or Canada is underrated. What do you think the takeaway is in world football, Jordan?
Canada's underrated. I've had messages from England, Denmark, from the US. Man, you're Canadian. Man, you're Canadian. I said, yes, I'm proud to be Canadian. I've been telling you guys this for years. We have ballers. We have guys ready to compete. We just all put it together. John Herdman being the guy to bring all the talent together and have a brotherhood where guys are fighting for the badge. But yes, we do not just play hockey. We have guys ready to commit to a program and ready to fight. And that is the number 2 ranked Belgium. And we bopped them. Unfortunate, as Will said, to not really take care of moments and take care of the little details. But in terms of heart, desire, aggression, the better team to watch, the more attractive football played, you get behind Canada. If you were not behind Canada before, get behind them now.
Ollie.
Me, I think it's both. I think Canada clearly are underrated, probably compared to most people's expectations, because people hadn't seen them before at a World Cup. And even compared to our expectations, that exceeded mine. That was outstanding from Canada. So take nothing away from them, but Belgium are overrated. Like, I don't think they, and I didn't think this before the game, to be honest with you, I don't think they're a contender to win this tournament. I think this tournament is just a step too far for what has been a very good team in the past few years.
Look, the easy answer here is underrated. You know me, I don't shy away from the unpopular take. I think they're adequately rated. A team that's really good beats teams that they should, but when push comes to shove, they're just not good enough to go on and win it all. Like, that's exactly what they are. They'll get out of this group. Guys, they won the game today. They were nowhere near their best. And Canada pushed them, and I thought we're the better side today. I'm sure a lot of other people out there that watch the game agree with that sentiment as well. But they won the game. They come away with a full 3 points. They wipe their hands clean of it, and they move on. They're appropriately rated. We'll see how far they can go. I mean, Germany lost today. We'll see. If they win the group and they avoid Spain, there's no reason to believe that they can't go on and win a round come the knockout stage. And if you go on and win this group, you have an easier pathway, at least on paper, to make it deep into this tournament. I think they're rated appropriately fine. I think by virtue of what we saw today, Jordan's right. Canada is underrated. I mean, I didn't know how to rate Canada. That was the problem heading into this game. Now I can rate them, and I rate them highly. Croatia, Morocco, we'll get into that in a few moments' time. It's going to be a downright battle. It's going to be a scrap for their life. Is Canada good enough in the attacking third? We're about to find out.
You basically just did the throw to break for me, Gareth. Thank you for that, because there is more Canada to be discussed, but also more matches from the World Cup to break down today. A Spanish thrashing, a goalless draw, and a little bit more to dissect here on Good Night Guitar. Coming up next, though, for the Canadians, they do take on Croatia. That is Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 12:30 p.m. in Newfoundland and Labrador. Set your calendars, join us, and of course, that conversation is going to follow. More from Good Night Qatar when we return. Japan and Germany, with the former winning by 2-1. But look at these full-time stats. Germany outshot Japan 26-2, had 9 shots on target, 74% possession, and 500 more passes. Gareth Wheeler, was this result, despite the performance safe from the goals, a disaster for Germany?
The result was a disaster. I thought their performance kind of was the same as Argentina against Saudi Arabia, a team that completely outplayed their opponent in the first half, and their inability to go on and score a second goal ended up costing this team. This German side, heading into this competition from an attacking perspective, they're very, very good. They don't have a number 9 like Miroslav Klose any longer that provides the goals, that leads the line as like a pronounced number 9, but they have so much attacking talent in this team. But they're a nightmare defensively. Their final warm-up match was against Oman. They came away with a clean sheet in that game, but the 7 games before that, they conceded goals and lots of them. They are absolutely garbage defensively. Rudiger, a reliable player at the back. Other than that, too much reliance on Manuel Neuer. This Japan side is good. They're difficult to play against. They press, they're fit, and they got better as the game went on, and they were fully deserved of that victory. I know the stats say one thing, but Japan in the second half improved. Germany regressed. It was like I was watching Argentina, Saudi Arabia all over again.
Let's go to Jordan next. I know if Belgium would have won that game, it would have been disaster for Belgium. Belgium would have lost that game, disaster for Belgium. Disaster for Germany?
It was. I won't say in the tournament. It's still early, and they still can obviously turn it around. But I agree with Wheels. He talked about it yesterday. It's like when you have that moment, you have the foot on another team's neck. You have them against the ropes. Knock them out. Germany had a few chances when it was 1-0 to really go and put their stamp in the game and have it be 2-0 or 3-0, whatever it might be. When you leave that window of opportunity for Japan, a Japanese team that they have a never say die attitude. They're busy. They love to press. They're opportunistic. They're going to move forward. You have to finish them off. You give them a chance. Again, the second goal, a little clip ball, and it's just basically by the 3 in the back sleeping. If you have runners that can run into the space, you have to make sure you track. You have to screen them, get an arm across, something. They were passive, and it was literally a similar match outside of the times that the goals were scored, from Saudi Arabia and Argentina to Germany and Japan. If you don't finish off a team, you can't expect to win, even though you've had possession and you had opportunities. You have to when you have your foot on their neck, you have to take it off. You have to knock them out.
Yeah, for me, Germany got punished not only for not getting the second goal when they had the opportunity to do so, but for then chasing the second goal too much in the latter stages of the game. Like, I thought the substitutions Hansi Flick made was a big risk, right? And it nearly paid off immediately after those 2 subs when they brought on Goretzka and Hoffman. They had the quadruple chance where the goalkeeper makes an unbelievable series of saves to keep Japan in the game. But then it turned from there. And I was expecting, when I saw Goretzka on the touchline, okay, it's time to get one of the forwards off and, solidify the midfield, get 3 in there, Gundogan and Kimmich and Goretzka. Instead, they took Gundogan off, right? And they brought Hoffman on as well, because the right-hand side, which is also a problem for them, I think, hadn't really been functioning, and kind of rearranged the attack. So I thought that was a really attacking pair of substitutions. Almost paid off, like I said, with that quadruple chance. They didn't take it, and in the end, I think that risk, just went the other way, and they got punished for it.
Well, I have a feeling after today, first Kristian Jack was at the upset for Argentina. He was at the upset for Germany today. If you are a team that should win and you see Kristian Jack rock up to the stadium, you should have fear in your heart that things are going to go awry. KJ was all over the place today. He was at Morocco and Croatia. Let's hear what he had to say about that match now.
Wednesday, November the 23rd, 2022 will always be remembered in Canadian soccer history as the day that Canada returned to the FIFA Men's World Cup for the first time in 36 years. About 9 hours or so before Canada played Belgium, though, their group kicked off here at Al Bayt Stadium, around about 45 minutes north of Doha, as Croatia and Morocco played a stalemate 0-0 in the opening match of this group. There was a lot of observations and a lot of things to learn about Canada's next 2 opponents, so let's get into 3 of those key observations. There was an announced attendance of close to 60,000, and I have to say about half of them seemingly were Moroccan. Morocco games are going to feel like home games here in this stadium, and it definitely made a difference. Morocco were impactful on the pitch, and they definitely were ignited by the fan base that started to get behind them even before kickoff. Morocco were very good. I think better than some people thought in this game. A lot of people come into this game thinking that Croatia were going to be the entertainers. They had a lot of the ball, but Morocco did a lot to stop it. The Moroccans were excellent defensively, and Croatia could not play through the middle. In fact, if you're Canada, you'd be looking at the way that Morocco defended in this game as an absolute classic clinic to be able to handle Croatia next when you play them on Sunday. Force them into wide areas. Don't let Modric take the ball through midfield. Defend for your lives. Bring the intensity, and in the end, win the ball back and play quickly and play forward and play wide as well. When you think of what Buchanan and Hoylett, for example, could potentially do, the way that Hakimi and Ziyech did on this night, you could certainly see that Canada could do that again against Croatia. It brings us to the last observation. Don't sleep on Morocco. That's the first thing. The second thing, Croatia were dour. As I said earlier, they had a lot of the ball but could not do much with it. Many people thought they would be the classic entertainers coming into this group, and now suddenly they're on their heels. The front three all got taken off, and questions now remain already with the Croatian media here about what that team will look like against Canada on Sunday. It just goes to show you how quickly things can turn around at a World Cup. They came into this group, many people thinking they were the best team, and they ended the opening match here almost trying to close it out like an away game. That's what the Moroccan fans will do, trying to close it out like an away game to make sure they can get a point from it. In the end, it was a point apiece. A lot of questions for Croatia. Morocco now definitely in this group and will ensure that when they play Canada, their team and their fans will be in it with a chance to reach the last 16.
Okay, so I'll be honest. I just assumed KJ was there. He's everywhere. I just assume he's at all the games. But he was at the early match this morning. Speaking of early match, shout out to all of you who were up at 5 and stayed through to watch Canada and Belgium. Garrett's putting his hand up. I know you are diehard and you are dedicated to it. I'm going to go to you first here, Wheels. Let's talk about that assessment from KJ on the match he saw, and then get into some confidence from John Herdman, perhaps.
This quote, it's up on the One Soccer social media account, so I'm assuming that it's real. Herdman, I just told them that they belong here, and we're going to go out and bleep Croatia next. It's as simple as that.
He didn't actually say bleep
brash.
Croatia.
That is
He said F Croatia, not bleep Croatia, just to clarify.
I was trying to be refined. I was trying to be highbrow.
Distinguished gentleman.
With my description.
No. I mean, he literally
comment.
said F, like EFF.
That's not the way it says. Anyways, whatever. Still, that's big. I understand what KJ's saying about Croatia. I don't think that they were dour. I think they were overwhelmed at times because Morocco's a really good team. It was like they were playing a home match. We saw it with like Tunisia as well, and Morocco fed off it. They were incredibly aggressive. The game was played at a breakneck speed. Like, the game was played at a greater speed than Canada and Belgium was played at. Like, Canada are going to have to speed things up a few notches to hang with Croatia and Morocco. I think that it's going to be a big test for Canada. There's so much experience in this Croatian side. It's one thing doing it one time. You need to go out and repeat it. We've seen teams go out, win their first game of a World Cup, and then go flame out. It's going to be a big test for Canada. I like the confidence. I like the message that Herdman's saying, but there's no guarantees here. Again, Croatia was the runners-up of the last World Cup, and have been absolutely on fire. I think they've lost one game over the last calendar year. This is a very good team. Morocco is a very good team. Look out. This group is far from settled. The goalless draw suits Canada. It brings everyone back. It keeps them all in the mix. I don't think it's any assurance that Belgium goes on and wins their next game against Morocco, by the way. So we'll see. Canada are in a dogfight here. They're right in the middle of it.
Yeah, incredibly tough group, like we expected, really. I don't think any result is a given in this group at the moment. And Canada do kind of lose that element of surprise now, right? They're going to have to find something else going into these games. I don't think just reproducing that performance against Belgium as outstanding as it was is going to do it. So I actually agree with KJ. I think the big worry for Croatia is that, look, the midfield is outstanding. We know that. The defense keeps a clean sheet, and there's some very good players in that back unit. The front three, that there's not a lot going on the evidence of that game. And that, I think, will be the worry for them. And it's been a group stage so far where a lot of the teams that have had the best results and looked the best on the pitch have been the ones with players who really stretch the fields, who provide pace in behinds, quality in the final third. We even saw that with Canada just lacking the finish today, right? So I think that'll be a concern for them, and something that both of their remaining opponents, including Canada, will play into, is that we're not sure exactly how much you're going to hurt us with that front three, as good as you can be on the ball in terms of controlling the game in midfield.
Entering that match with physicality, enthusiasm, and energy, but also being tactically sound like Canada was today, is a recipe for a win and 3 points against Croatia. Now, I wouldn't say the same game plan would be provided for Morocco, because Morocco played Croatia with physicality, enthusiasm. They gave them no time on the ball, was breathing down Modric's neck. Croatia play best when they can combine and play at their own tempo. Similar to how Italy does sometimes, where they just make simple passes and they build up the game from the back into the middle into the front. But a great player hates pressure. A good player, when they have pressure, becomes average. So Canada's bread and butter is going into that game with the same enthusiasm that they had today, and good things can come of that. Now, the real question is, all these guys put in a shift. I would love to see their numbers. I would love to see guys who bomb forward and be clocking back. Alistair Johnston, Richie Larea. Can you go and do that again in 4 days' time? Like, as a player, when you have that performance and you've reached such a high, and we saw Canada's ceiling today. We were talking about in the week wheels and Ollie about what is Canada's ceiling. We saw it today, how good they can be. Can they do that again against a team that requires it? Because if they match Croatia and they come with that same energy that they did today, there's something in it for them.
But Canada don't need to match that performance, Jordan. They need to be better. They need to have the ability to find the back of the net. That's the thing. Look, Kevin De Bruyne didn't look like Man City Kevin De Bruyne today. They need to do the same thing to Luka Modric in the second game. 39-year-old legs of Atiba Hutchinson was great today. He's got to go out and do it again. Stefan Eustáquio needs to go out and do it again. That is not an easy task. Kovacic, Brozovic, you're going to be in a battle in that midfield. Croatia, no pushovers. The 5 sub rule changes things. The deeper sides, you're going to be rewarded for having deeper squads. And I will say this, there was one significant injury in the first game as Raoui went out, left back for Morocco. If he is out for this tournament or misses the next upcoming games, this is a substantial loss for Morocco. Wonderful player, didn't look good, hip issue. We'll see about his status. So maybe that's a stroke of good luck at Morocco's loss for Canada as well as Belgium moving forward.
All right, well, the other one today was a 7-0 for Spain. I don't think we're going to see one of those tomorrow as we take a look at the schedule for Thursday. Switzerland, they go up first, taking on Cameroon. Uruguay and South Korea, the Republic of Korea, will follow. Portugal will be the third match against Ghana. And then Brazil, who are feeling that they might have a chance, will take on Serbia to wrap up Thursday. Do not go anywhere. On the other side of a quick pause, we will preview those games and get our thoughts as Good Night Qatar continues. Welcome back to Good Night Qatar. Time for a little bit of rapid fire questions for our panel. Jordan Wilson, Oliver Platt, and Gareth Wheeler. I will begin with Oliver, and I feel like it's fitting that you get to answer this question first, Oliver. But true or false, so far, England has been the best nation in this tournament?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm going to say false. I think Spain were outstanding today. I didn't think Costa Rica would do very well at this tournament, to be honest with you. Their run in qualifying, to the way they came back in the second half of the octagonal, looks like an absolute miracle, to be honest with you. But Spain, nevertheless, albeit against a weaker team that will go out in the group stage, I thought were absolutely outstanding, played some brilliant football.
Gareth?
True. We all think that England's going to fall on their face every tournament. In their first game, they came out and scored 6 goals, equaling the most goals they've ever scored in a World Cup game. I didn't see that coming. Iran is actually a respectable nation. Like, their results have been good. They're bullish defensively, and England made them look like not even second rate, third or fourth rate. England, the best performance so far.
Jordan?
Yeah, it was masterclass from England. As much as I want to say Spain, Costa Rica, they were just out of their league. England, you're always, it's coming home, all that. They had one good performance, but they started.
Football's coming home. It's coming.
Always. It's coming home. It's always. But 6 goals and the way they played, right? They had a great start to the tournament. Most impressive team so far.
All right, Gareth, I'm going to bounce this next one to you. And on the topic of Spain looking really good, Costa Rica did not. CONCACAF, true or false, Gareth, has made a good impression in Qatar so far.
Of course it has. Qatar needed the intercontinental playoffs to qualify, and they played New Zealand. Come on, they didn't play a world beater get in. Full credit to them. They won unbeaten in their last, 6 games? I think they won 6 of the last 7 games to go on and qualify for the World Cup. Well, let's be honest. It was a pandemic. It was difficult for every side trying to compete and contend in CONCACAF. And Costa Rica somehow were the best of the rest. I think Panama, there was a show that Panama was pretty decent, but I didn't expect Costa Rica to do anything at this tournament. And there's only so much you can ask of Keylor Navas. When you're playing against Spain, he put the nation on his back to even get them to Qatar. They're fortunate to be at this tournament. But the U.S. were fine. They played a good half against Wales, second half not so much. Mexico were fine. They still might qualify from this group. And a great performance from Canada. So don't let Costa Rica's performance deter you from giving CONCACAF some props at this tournament.
Jordan and then Ollie.
Of course. CONCACAF, the teams that have been playing. The U.S. had a very good performance. Canada showed a lot of people that we play more than hockey, and we know how to play football as well. Mexico were unlucky to come away with a win. And Costa Rica went up against a very good Spanish side. Who's to say other teams will get a 7-0, but you're not beating Spain by the way they're playing. Gavi and Pedri today looking like young Xavi and Iniesta, looking very promising. They have Morata come off the bench scoring goals, dangerous squad. But yeah, CONCACAF has represented.
I'm going to say false, actually. I think Canada did a lot of heavy lifting to try and get this back on the right side of this question today. But for me, Mexico and the United States, they're 2 of the top teams in the region, have been the 2 top teams in the region, along with Costa Rica, obviously. I want them beating Poland and Wales, to be honest with you. They were a bit better than I actually expected they might be. But bigger picture, I think our top team should be able to get wins against teams like that. And Costa Rica was obviously ugly, as we've discussed.
Ollie would like to have seen the Americans beat the Welsh, but they didn't, did they, Oliver Platt?
Nothing against Wales.
Yeah, nothing against Wales, he says. Let's move on before we get into a brawl over here. Jordan, I'm going to come to you next on the topic of Ollie and what we saw today. True or false, Ollie complains too much about VAR.
I think Ollie complains an appropriate amount about something that is not working efficiently.
Well said.
It's going to be a part of the game, but I'm a Canadian. There's a penalty that was not awarded today, 2. But I'll talk about one on Larea that wasn't awarded. So it's not really working. I know that it's a part of the game now. It just needs to be better. It needs to be more efficient. The 65-second wait for Davis's penalty, missing penalties. The inconsistencies are driving me mad. And I'm sure they're driving any football player mad as well. So Ollie gives the appropriate amount of hatred to VAR.
Gareth?
Ollie can be salty about whatever he wants to be salty about. That's my boy right there. I got his back on this. I will say, my biggest problem was in this Canada game here today when the referees recommended to check VAR after Witzel and Larea made contact in the box, and the referee decides not to go to VAR. If you recommend the referee to go have a look, the referee on the field should respect the perspective of the VAR official and go over and check. Perhaps the second look would have turned around that call. I'm not sure how you guys feel. For me, it was borderline. It was 50-50. I know people say that was absolutely a penalty. I'm kind of a little bit in the gray area. But that was one instance where Ollie's right. That's the time where VAR wasn't used effectively.
Take your victory lap, Platt.
Oh, it's false. A board-faced lie, fake news, whatever you want to call it. I could never complain too much.
Okay, fair enough. Let's go to Oliver Reid again. What we know, with the result didn't come, true or false, John Herdman regrets his lineup or tactical decision on the match today.
False, obviously. Thought he got it. He got it absolutely spot on and can't really have any complaints about the way Canada was set up for this game. The interesting question now for me is, what does he do with Davies in the next game? Is he keeping him in that wing-back spot, or do we see him further forward? I suspect we will at some point, but that I think is going to be a big decision for him.
Quick word from Wheels, then Wilson.
No, he got it absolutely spot on. Well done to John Herdman. I think he does have one regret on the day. He wore a suit. How many times have you seen John Herdman actually wear a suit? Like, he's always zip up. He looked great today, by the way. But I'll be like, damn this suit. Throw it to the ground. Get back in the tracksuit next game and have the good juju, the good karma that will follow.
Well coached from Herdman today. I said before the game, no chance that you're putting Davies at wingback. We just haven't seen him there since 2019, like KJ said earlier in the show. But it worked. I also think maybe the reason for it, I would love to chat with him about it and just pick his football brain. But it allows Davies to get into 1v1 situations. Also allows Davies and Hoylett to intertwine. And it's, as a defender, it's easier to mark a guy and get stuck into tackles when his back's facing and he's in the pocket. But having Davies run at you and also cutting in and being able to create, we went down the left side so many times the first half and looked dangerous. And then guess what? The few times that we didn't, pinged it out to Buchanan, and he's running at guys, and they have him fearful. Man, he put the best 11 out for Canada at the position feeling hot. And then having Kyle Laren on the bench ready to come in and contribute, and the subs that he made, it was masterclass from him.
Yeah, definitely a good showing for John Herdman today, putting the world on notice about this team, but also about himself as a coaching candidate. That's a conversation, though, for another day. We got the energy up with some rapid fire true or false. One final bit of the show, and we will preview tomorrow's matches here on Good Night Qatar. Well, we're getting near the end of the show, but we did assign a little bit of homework. One question per match for each of our co-hosts today. Gareth Wheeler, Oliver Platt, Jordan Wilson. Ollie, let's start with you. Argentina loses their opening game. Everyone thought they were the favorite. Is Brazil now the overwhelming favorite, that heavy hitter? They open their tournament tomorrow.
Well, they were always my favorite, so I'm going to say yes on this one. Argentina, I don't think anyone should be writing them off just yet. But this Brazil-Serbia game, I think, has the potential to be one of the best of the first round of matches, if not the best. Serbia are a team that just love to attack. They will fly forward at you, usually play with a front two, which is increasingly unusual as well. And then they play against the Brazilian side that I just think, like I said on our preview show, I think this is the best Brazil squads maybe since 2002 when they last won the World Cup. And it features the kinds of players that have been having a ton of success at this tournament. Wide players, dynamic, quick, one-on-one guys. You know, Vinicius, Rafinha, Neymar, even Richarlison will play as a striker, but it really is naturally more of a wide player. There is a ton of speed and skill in this team. And I think they will hit the ground running tomorrow morning.
Gareth, I cheated a little bit giving you the Manchester United question. Thinking about Portugal, do you think that he will play more free? Do you think he will run Cristiano Ronaldo now that the drama with United is over?
By more freedom, do you mean because now he's like essentially a free agent? He's
auditioning for work, yes.
Wherever he goes. How can you play with more freedom knowing that you've left the greatest club that's ever existed in world football history? Wherever he goes from here, it's a downgrade for Manchester United. It's very sad. This is tragic for me. An all-time great goes back to Old Trafford, and it doesn't work out. And largely it didn't work out because Cristiano Ronaldo has lost his battle with Father Time, and he's just simply not good enough to be in the side anymore. Do you know who's going to play with a lot more freedom? Bruno Fernandes, understanding when he goes back to Manchester United in December that maybe someone's going to be able to finish some of the spectacular passes and balls that he plays. The big winner of the last 2 days, though, are Manchester United supporters, not because Ronaldo's leaving, because Glazer's out. Finally, the owners that have siphoned money from this club and the heart and the soul and the spirit for so long, they're on their way out. That's something that we can rally around. Manchester United is finally going to be free.
Okay, last word of the day to Mr. Jordan Wilson. Of the other 4 teams that are playing tomorrow, Switzerland, Cameroon, Uruguay, Korea Republic, which team is the contender and which is the biggest pretender?
So my mother told me to be polite at all times. If you have nothing good to say, don't say anything at all. But sorry, Mom. Adam asked me to be honest. Uruguay is the real deal. Boy, are they dangerous and a complete, I'll say balanced team. I won't say complete, right? I don't want to jinx them. I've been jinxing too many people on the show. But a complete team. I know we're pressed for time. I don't want to say pretenders, but a team I just feel like is going to finish bottom of the group is going to be South Korea. Sorry to all my Koreans out there. I love you, but I just don't think that the squad is up to snuff in this group.
Well, we have Jordan Wilson just offending the entire Korea Republic nation ahead of their opening match.
In Germany last World Cup, blasphemy.
And Jordan trying to get me in trouble with Mama Wilson. I did no such thing. I am not planting bad advice in your boy's ears. He is polite and is buttoned up as ever.
Adam looks sweet, devil in disguise.
That's why I wear so much red. Just saying, if there was a red devil in me and it's not a Belgian, it would be me. That was also my alma mater for high school. So, hey, what can I say? What a useless piece of trivia to end the show on today. Oliver Platt, Gareth Wheeler, Jordan Wilson, thank you so much for joining us. Back at this again tomorrow. Your place for the daily recap and preview for tomorrow. Good night, Qatar.